In today's video, we're going to talk about the top 5 best legendary champions in Dragonheir Silent Gods. We talked about epics, we talked about rares. We haven't really talked much about legendary champions. Now, maybe you've been fortunate enough to summon some of these amazing champions, and you might be wondering which one of them should be my main priority. Which one of them should I build first? What can I do with these champions? That's exactly what I'm going to tell you in today's video. Welcome to the channel, everyone. I'm Skratch, and of course, this is another Dragonheir Silent Gods video. We have a lot of awesome legendary champions. Now, as usual, whenever I'm making a top or a tier list, as a disclaimer, guys, keep in mind these champions, unlike in other games, they really need to complement each other. So if we're talking about wild heroes, they will work the best with other wild heroes, so they drop a lot of damage. If we're talking about Ice Blast, if we're talking about Frost, Radiance, etc., they will need to have the right champions around them in order to shine, okay? So that's a thing that you should really keep in mind. And another disclaimer that I quickly want to make is that I am prioritizing utility and crazy damage or whatever they might be doing over just being kind of like gimmicky and I'm just an activator for burn, for Ice Blast, you know? Yeah, that makes you great at doing that, but can you do something else? So that's why I'm going to prioritize the champions that really shine in a lot of areas, guys, okay? So we're going to start with the fire element, and straight off the back here, we have one of the most OP exclusive champions, and that is Flora, guys. She is an absolute boss killer. In Season 1, she was the MVP for the Vortex. Like, the damage was just out of the roof. And not just for that. When we're talking about any boss in general, she is just crazy. Now, she's not good for Arena, which I think is fine because she's so powerful everywhere else that is just like mind-blowing. So she has a attack aura in all battles. Then you have this passive. Every time an ally launches a successful wild, the familiar will unleash a fireball at the ally's current target, dealing 120% attack fire damage. Now, that's why you gotta pair her with wild champions, you know, and of course, it will matter what sort of artifacts, gear you have on them. I'm not really going to dive into this topic because Season 1 has different gear, Season 2 has different gear. We got a few different ones on top of it, and I don't want to create any sort of confusion. She does have her own exclusive artifact, which you can purchase with a duplicate copy. If not, you have the fan, which works amazing as well for derivative damage, you know. Then you have this battle skill. The familiar unleashes 2 fireballs at the enemy, dealing 200% attack damage. And you have the ultimate. Deals attack fire damage to the enemy, creating a fire vortex around the target for 10 seconds. As the vortex lasts, the target takes additional derivative fire damage from wild heroes, you know, so that is actually crazy. This and the passive is what makes this champion as powerful as she is. And honestly, she was just so damn powerful, guys. A very awesome character, and she is one of my most wanted, okay? I'm not gonna hide. I want her. I want her. Then, moving over to the next champion from the fire element, guys, we have a Chrysos. He is an amazing tank. Again, another champion that is on my on my list. You know, he has a defense aura for a series of trials battles, Feymander and the Pillar of Trials. Then you have the passive. When the hero shield is depleted or dispelled or vanishes, 50% of the shield is consumed and will be converted into healing, which makes him pretty hard to kill, makes him a very good tank for bosses as well, especially world bosses, even for the Vortex too, if you need something like that. Now, of course, he won't heal the rest of your team, but he will be able to do his job as a tank very, very good, you know. The battle skill casts 3 Holy Fires attacks, dealing fire damage to enemies within range, with a chance of dispelling 1 buff from them. Grants a shield to the ally with the lowest current HP. So that can come in handy too. If in arena you're using a Caraman, for example, you know, this battle skill will assist your Caraman or himself, depending on which one of them gets lower faster, you know. Then the ultimate covers the entire area. You're getting dispels all enemy shields, deals attack damage, and a chance to inflict the attack penalty, and grants a shield to all of your team, guys. Such a good ultimate skill, and is on a regular cooldown, 20 seconds, 12 seconds if you have him fully scrolled, and you are getting a lot of value out of this champion. Definitely looking forward to put my hand on him because I'll be able to make some crazy teams for the world bosses. Moving over to the next one, guys, it will be a Skratch. Now, this is another exclusive legendary, and he was added in Season 2 together with a new damage architecture, and this is burn. You've seen the previous ones were wild. This is burn, and in order for him to really go ham, he needs to have some burn heroes. So he has a attack aura for all battles. I love the all battles auras. They're my favorite. Basic attacks deal additional damage to enemies in a range of 3 tiles from the hero in front of him. When a basic attack deals damage to an enemy under burn, recharges ultimate energy by 5%. That is awesome. Now, if you guys are a massive fan of Sigrid, you know she's rotating that ultimate skill like nobody else. Now, of course, he's not going to do it like that, but he will actually get a lot of ultimate energy too, which is very nice because it's the basic skill, not something else. Then you have the battle skill, deals fire damage to enemies within range and has a chance of inflicting a stack of burn. Now, the problem with this sort of champions, guys, heroes, is that he's a melee. He's going to jump in the middle of the fight, basically, and in order to really activate his full potential, you kind of like want enemies to surround him, you know, and it's a pretty hard scenario to replicate, you know. But it can work. It can work. And when he deals damage, this ultimate skill is just crazy. Covers the entire area. I cannot remember how many times I got my ass whooped, even in arena, by him and a different champion that might activate a few burns. He just deals too much damage. And the burn ticks, especially if your heroes are next to each other, are just slowly draining your life. Dispels all enemies' burn and deals fire damage to them. Then blasts on all enemies with each enemy as the center, dealing additional fire damage to surrounding enemies. For each stack of burn previously dispelled, he increases his damage dealt by 75%. So the more stacks you have on the target, the crazier the damage. If you saw the guide I released on Arasis, the epic champion, it's kind of like the epic version of him, of course. Not as OP, but he's still very, very strong. Now, the problem with these heroes, against world bosses, they're not as great because of it, you know. So that puts them a bit lower on the rating list, in tier lists and stuff. But that's another thing that should stop these champions from dealing insane damage in every other content, you know. So overall, he's a solid one. He does have his own exclusive artifact as well, which is pretty hard to get unless you're pulling another copy of this hero. Then I have another one on the list, and this is Jorn. I find him so hard to counter in arena. I'll be very, very honest. Like, most of the times, I tend to lose against him when he's in a good team in arena. Now, I haven't been a massive fan of arena from the very beginning, but since I've pulled a few more arena champions, I'm always in top 50, right, on my server. And I gotta say it, I find the teams with Jorn the hardest teams to defeat. And I'll explain you why now. So he has this passive. The hero takes 30% less fire damage. Additionally, when the hero takes fire damage, there's a chance of recharging his ultimate energy and that of surrounding allies by 10% and grants defense up to the hero and surrounding allies. So if you have them grouped together, he becomes crazy, crazy, crazy good. This effect can only be triggered once every 5 seconds. More than enough to boost you at the beginning of the fight. And this is not good just in PvP, guys. I'm just highlighting him of how powerful he is in PvP, but this champion can be used pretty much everywhere, you know. Then you have this battle skill, a straight one-way road, basically. Sprays flames that burn enemies within range 5 times, each time dealing attack damage with a chance of inflicting attack penalty. But this is a 5-time hit, okay? So most likely you will get that decreased attack on you no matter what. Then the flames also backfire on the hero each time he deals damage and on himself, okay? What happens when he deals damage on himself or when he gets fire damage? His passive activates, okay? So this is just nuts because he's getting the ultimate energy, which quickly puts him to use the ultimate, okay? Deals attack damage to the enemies and max HP, of course, and reduces their ultimate energy by 25% with a chance, scroll the 100% chance to remove all of their buffs. So such a powerful hero. Great for dungeons as well. Grave of Curse, Ancient Battlefield, you know, like he's gonna be so freaking good there. And he's gonna be good on world bosses. He's gonna be good against every single boss. He's not really a champion for the Vortex, you know, but when we're talking about the rest of the content, he's gonna ace it. You know, like ultimate energy manipulation is massive. Then having the remove buffs, having the passive that he has, where he buffs your team with defense up too, is crazy. And the decrease attack, you know, so definitely an awesome champion. Then moving over to the final champion from the fire element, guys. Now we're probably gonna have a bit of a contradiction here, but let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. So we have Garika. She's an amazing hero, super powerful for arena, right? But out of arena, she's not as insane. Then you have Rash, you have Casper. Great for bosses, you know, wild heroes, they deal good damage. You have Karf, an amazing activator for Ascatius. Durem, again, he's a pretty solid one. But I'm gonna give it to Huldur, guys. Like, he actually brings in a lot of utility too. And how I mentioned from the very beginning, I don't want to go just for gimmicks, just because, well, he deals damage. I do find it most of the times that it's so much harder to get the right support. It's so much harder to get a champion that can help your team to stay alive. Damage dealers are much easier to come by, you know. And yes, we have some insane, crazy damage dealers. But how I mentioned, Huldork right here, or I might not be pronouncing his name good, with a passive, when the hero skills deals damage to enemies within 3 tiles, increases the damage dealt by 50%. Now, don't get me wrong, this champion can deal solid damage as well. You know, if you build him with for full damage, he's gonna deal insane damage too. Then you have the battle skill. Deals fire damage to enemies within range with a chance of inflicting blind for 5 seconds. And puts attack penalty for 5 seconds too. Then reduces the target's ultimate energy by 10% when dealing damage to enemies within 3 tiles of the hero. So if you manage to place him in the right position, especially for arena, he's gonna be massive just because of the battle skill. But of course, if you're using this champion in PvE content, you're gonna understand how powerful he is, especially for the pillars, for the Fame Mender, and just for world bosses too, and dungeons as well, because not only that he does all this, but then he has this amazing ultimate. Deals 650% attack damage to enemies within range, with a 100% chance of dispelling 2 buffs from them, puts accuracy penalty, reduces the target's ultimate energy by 50%. 50! When dealing damage to enemies within 3 tiles of the hero, with a 100% chance of inflicting stun for 5 seconds. Like, my god, he just does so many things. Now, of course, his range is a one-way street as well, you know, and they are a bit easier to counter if you're positioning your heroes in the opposite side, so he doesn't touch you like this. Same with Jorn, but that doesn't stop us from positioning the champions when we're using them how we want, you know. So I'm using him against the world boss. And he's now really built fully for damage. He's built on a serial set to give me increased attack when he lands debuffs. The attack down, remove buffs from the boss. Let's move over to the next element, and that's going to be the ice element. Now here we have some amazing legendary champions. And again, I won't prioritize only the champions that are good in a particular area. You know, I feel like so many of them are so damn good, you know. And I want to start with one of my most favorite ones, because I've been using her like crazy since I got her in Season 1, and that is Vinyara, guys. Now, so many people are asking, do we have a good Ancient Battlefield team without Vinyara? Do we have one for the Grave of Curse without Vinyara? Because she does so many things, guys, and she has a super good cooldown on the ultimate. So she's a support champion, right? She has this passive that gives accuracy in all battles. The passive, when inflicted with control, the hero is immune to it. So she cannot be stunned, she cannot be crowd controlled, basically. And she has a 100% chance of inflicting frozen on the caster for 5 seconds. So you're trying to CC me, I'm gonna CC you back instead, you know? This skill takes effect only every 6 seconds, which is more than enough, especially for arena. She's so powerful. And you're gonna see that the more we dive into her kit, the more sense she will make. So this battle skill grants a shield equal to attack and a max HP for 10 seconds, and defense up, the bigger version, to the hero and the ally with the lowest HP. So for herself and the ally with the lowest HP. Now, that basically is going to be huge when you're trying to keep your tank alive in the Grave of Venom early on. This battle skill comes in play in the very first 5 seconds, will help your tank to survive till you recover, you put attack down and the rest of the things. And this is working everywhere. Now, you will find it very interesting that for my arena team, as an idea, I have Vinyara with the lowest HP, the highest defense. This battle skill always keeps her alive when I have snipers coming in, like Caraman, Questa, or whoever else comes in, you know. Then you have the ultimate skill. You see, initial recharge time 9 seconds, complete recharge time 16 seconds. So it's one of the best cooldowns in the entire game. Deals 900% attack. So not only that she can support your team, but she can deal damage too if you want her to. Dispelling all of their buffs and reduces their ultimate energy by 100%, with a 100% chance of inflicting frozen for 5 seconds and attack penalty. Yes, single target, but you can manipulate the ultimate energy on every single boss except the Vortex. And probably the endgame boss, we cannot manipulate it on that one. I'm not 100% sure anymore because I've only fought him once in Season 1 for a couple of days. But Vinyara, she is just such a massive powerhouse for dungeons, guys. Arena, how I mentioned, you can use her in the Vortex for attack down, and you're gonna get a lot of utility from her A2. Definitely not a champion to sleep on, you know. Then we're gonna talk about Felocia. She's definitely on my most wanted list together with El Sibri. But Felocia, she has this very unique kit that is very annoying. Like, she can keep your team alive so damn good, man. She has this passive. While the hero is alive, 15% of the damage taken by an ally will be converted into a shield for them that lasts for 10 seconds. You heard that. When the hero is alive, the damage will be converted into a shield, man. So that's so good to keep your team alive. In Arena, she's just such a pain to deal with. Especially if there's more than one support champion in there. She has this amazing battle skill. Grants a target's max HP shield to each ally within range and grants them defense up, the big version. This is so strong for the Vortex. It's just so strong everywhere. Everywhere. Such an amazing support champion. And then the ultimate covers the entire area, because why not? Grants a massive shield to all of your team. Then gives you damage reduction, 30% to be more specific, and control immunity, which means you cannot be stunned, taunted, or anything. Felocia, please come home soon. Please come home soon. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys have Felocia. What do you think about this champion? Because she's just such a beast. Such a beast. Moving over to the next champion that we have on the list, guys, is going to be El Sibri. And probably you're going to notice I have quite a few of them that I don't actually owe in here, you know. She is just so OP for PvP, but not just there, because she is kind of like a full package, okay? Support champion. She has a max HP aura in all battles. She has this passive. Before the battle starts, if El Sibri's accuracy is higher than her resistance is increased to equal her accuracy. So let's just say you build her with 400 accuracy, you're going to gain 400 resistance too, you know, which is going to be so good because she's not going to be controlled. She won't be, you won't be able to stop her, basically, you know. Then, at the start of the battle, she deals attack all damage to all enemies with a chance of inflicting blind. So as soon as the fight starts, you know, she has a 50% chance to put blind on you, which will prevent you to hit the target. Then you have this battle skill, grants a shield to the ally for 10 seconds. This ally gains 30% of El Sibri's resistance while the shield lasts. So most probably it's going to end up on the tank, you know, which will give the tank a lot of resistance. Then you have this ultimate. El Sibri sings a song that grants recovery over time and defense up, the bigger version, to all allies for 10 seconds, with a chance of inflicting charmed on the enemies, on all enemies, and fully scrolled 100% chance to reduce 50% of their ultimate energy. Charmed will force your teammates to attack themselves, okay? To attack each other, which is definitely pretty crazy. And having this skill, building her with a lot of skill haste, probably the best artifact for her is the Rift Hourglass, okay? You build her with a couple of skill haste sets, as much skill haste on the runes, making her go first. She will drop the ultimate energy on all of the enemy team and just giving that extra boost to your team to completely obliterate them in the fight, you know? She's just so freaking good. One day I'll get her. One day I'll get her. Then let's talk about a champion that I actually have, and then we'll move to another one that I don't have. And that is Vitar, guys. I actually summoned this hero recently, and she completely changed my game in the arena. I'm using her in the Goblin. My Goblin team right now is at 40 seconds per run on Goblin 3, which is, wow, like, it's so, I've never had it so fast, you know? And she is part of the team. So she is an exclusive legendary hero too, but look at this aura. Increases all allies attack by 45%, guys. 45% in arena. The passive is a very interesting one too, because this can cover the entire area. Changes the weather to Icewind for 15 seconds as the battle starts, while the Icewind is in effect, and when enemies are inflicted with frost, deals additional derivative damage, which honestly is not even the big thing, you know. Enemies with HP below 15% will be executed. Of course, not the bosses, but the bosses will receive extra additional derivative damage. So the enemies will have a small bar at the HP, showing them that once they cross that, they just instantly die. She's executing them, you know. You have this battle skill again, which is a one-way road. Unleashes Frost Breath, dealing 300% attack roll damage to enemies with a chance of inflicting frost. Then you have the ultimate, covers the entire area, changes the weather to Icewind for 15 seconds, so basically is activating the passive, and deals 640 attack to all enemies. Each enemy under frost in the battlefield increases the damage by 15%. The more enemies, the more damage, the crazier she goes, and she usually just one-shots everybody. She just wipes everybody off. She's great against pretty much every area where you need to kill waves, okay? Super, super strong. Moving over to the final one from this element, guys, and that will be Beldele, the new exclusive, the Ice Blast exclusive added in Season 2. My god, like, she melts bosses like nobody else, okay? The Ice Blast, guys, is a new damage architecture. She has a 3 damage aura for all battles. She has this passive, like all the Ice Blast heroes. If the hero has ice crystals after casting a battle skill, consumes 1 stack of ice crystals to cast the skill again. Damage dealt from the current skill will be increased by 25% upon triggering this effect, up to 100% of the base damage. If the skill isn't triggered again within 3.5 seconds, the damage is basically emptied, lost. She's the #1 damage dealer in Season 2, guys, when we're talking about bosses. She's just so good. Then you have the battle skill. Deals damage to enemies while ignoring their shield. The hero gains 3 damage up for 5 seconds. And you have the ultimate skill. Strikes an enemy 3 times, each dealing attack roll damage with a chance of gaining a stack of ice crystals. Now, of course, the main thing on her is not even the ultimate, it's the battle skill, okay? And you need to have Ice Blast heroes to really activate her. The best activator for her is Sheena. You have Zorak, which is pretty good. You have Bladin as an epic that can activate her fairly decent, but Sheena is the GOAT to activate the Ice Blast heroes. Now in here we do have quite a few different awesome champions as well, guys. We have Urian, which is a pretty solid tank. A lot of people don't really like him for whatever reason, but I'm a massive fan. Oster, a pretty solid damage dealer. But the crown had to go with Vitar because she's just so much better, more powerful, you know. Moving over to the next elemental affinity, guys, and this is Necrosis. Here we have quite a few juicy champions, and I'm gonna start with U tier. I'm just messing with you. U tier is not making the list, unfortunately, but please, Dragonheir devs, show some love to U tier and give him a buff, because he's not really being used by the majority of the players, and they do feel pretty disappointed with him as a legendary hero. We're gonna give it to Thorin, guys. What can I say about Thorin? Not only that he looks amazing, he has a resistance aura for all battles, and that can come in handy. He has this passive where he basically marks one ally that's in front of him, and he will basically give 25% of his own stats to that. So if you're trying to super tank your tank, Thorin is the answer to it. Then, of course, he will grant invisibility and healing, but let's go to the battle skill. Heals the ally with the lowest current HP, and when healing the marked ally, dispels a debuff from them. So basically, you're going to get a bit of a cleanse on that ally, on the tank, which is very nice. The ultimate grants invisibility to all allies for 10 seconds. Then, he casts a spell that will heal all of your team. The marked ally will not be granted invisibility, but he will gain immunity and additional 25% of the healing. Is such a good champion to help you keep your tank alive. An awesome support. And when I started playing Dragonheir Silent Gods, he was the first champion I eyed, and I was like, my god, he looks awesome. I want him, you know. He's definitely a solid one. Then moving over to the next one, we have Quasitia. Such an amazing tank, and such a bummer that I haven't got her yet, but maybe in the near future. Initially, when she was released on the list, you know, we checked her kit, and I wasn't such a big fan of her because she's a defense-based champion, and most of her things in the kit are requiring attack, you know. So I was like, yeah, maybe her healing won't be as good. But man, Was I wrong? Defense aura for arena. You have this passive. When taking damage, there's a chance of putting recharge speed penalty on the attacker, and you take 30% less damage from that attacker. So this works on bosses. It's just such a massive thing to have against bosses. To don't allow them to stack their damage up is so good. Then you have this battle skill. Drags the furthest enemy towards the hero, inflicting necrotic damage with a chance of putting fear on them and knocking them up, and a chance to put healing prohibition. So if you're keeping your nuker at the back of the map in arena, she's gonna drag that one. So the way I'm countering her, usually, I'm putting a support champion at the back that's not so important, you know, and she can do whatever she wants with him while my nuker stays in front to deal with the problem, you know. Then you have the ultimate. So this is right here. Attacks the target area 3 times, each dealing 270% attack damage, you know. That's why I was like, that doesn't sound that good, because she's going to heal based on the attack, you know. But at the same time, she's reducing their ultimate energy by 10% while granting the hero with 150% attack healing. You see, that's the thing right there. The third attack has a chance to knock up the enemies and put attack penalty. And moving over to the next hero, guys, will be Gulende. He was my first legendary in Season 1 that I summoned, actually, from the 10 rare scrolls that you get at the end of the season, you know. Support hero. You have a accuracy aura for arena. You have this passive. When the hero casts a skill on an enemy with HP less than 50%, there's a chance of inflicting charmed. If you guys remember what charm does, it makes you attack your own ally. And a chance to put healing reduction, and a chance to put attack penalty if charmed fails. Then the battle skill has a chance of inflicting a stun on the enemy. This is great, again, when you're going in arena, to go straight on the tank, stun the tank, and call it a day, you know. Then you have a chance to steal their ultimate energy and heal the hero by 150% attack. You want to build Gulende with a lot of attack, guys, and accuracy preferably. Now, if you are able to squeeze in some crit rate and other things like that, is awesome. I do like to use Gulende, preferably with a Rift Hourglass or something that might boost my accuracy and preferably enhance my my skill haste. But that's only the Rift Hourglass. And yeah, the Incense Burner is not a bad artifact for Gulende either. Now, if you're going for a full damage build and you're not looking to get the support out of the champion, you can use a damage artifact on Gulende too. Then you have the ultimate. Covers the entire area too, deals pretty good damage too. You can actually kill a lot of mobs with the damage, and puts attack penalty on all of the enemies, and cleanses your entire team and gives you healing, guys. For each individual ally, grants an extra healing for each debuff dispelled. The more debuffs you dispel, the more healing you're getting. There are not many cleansers in the game that dispel every single debuff, okay? Gulende is one of them. Then, moving over to the next, guys. We have 2 awesome damage dealers in here as well. And while I do like Berengar a lot as a tank, I feel like he's amazing, I will actually go and put the damage dealers on the list, because I feel like this elemental affinity struggles quite a bit. You know, it's pretty hard to make them work. But these 2 champions, if you have them, they just go crazy. Lelwanis is one of them, guys. And yes, she looks awesome, right? Such an amazing design on the hero. You have a crit damage aura for arena, 45%. Then you have the passive. The hero takes 30% less AoE damage, 15% if the damage is dealt by a boss. Gains a stack of Dragon Blood permanently for every dead target in the field, up to 20 stacks. Now, the more summons you're able to bring to the fight and let them die, the more stacks she's gaining, which is good, you know. And they cannot be dispelled either. At max stacks of Dragon Blood, the hero damage ignores 35% of the enemy's defense. That's a solid thing to have. The battle skill, centering the enemy with the lowest current HP, the hero deals attack damage to the enemies within range and summons 2 corpses around them. Now, the corpses again are good because they will die pretty quick. The problem with the summoners, guys, is that their actual summons tend to be pretty weak, except for a couple of the summoners, you know. When Dragon Blood reaches max stack, the skill will deal follow-up damage to the enemies. So that's the corpse right there. And you have the ultimate, which covers the entire area, sacrifices all allied undead creatures, and deals attack damage to enemies. For each stack of Dragon Blood on the hero, the damage will be increased by 7%. With full stacks on the hero upon every sacrificed ally and dead creature, the damage dealt by the current cast will be increased by 5%. This bonus has no upper limit. So you want to pair her again with a lot of summoners. You want to pair her with summoners that summon all these parry skeletons that die quick to make her stack up her passive quick, and then have as many skeletons on the area on the map when you're ready to blow up with the ultimate, you know, and she will go crazy. Then we have Premza. She looks freaking scary, man. She's a summoner too, and she has a attack aura for dungeon battles 45%. Is probably one of the highest attack dungeon aura I've seen in the entire game. 45% is a lot. Then you have the passive. When an ally and that summoned unit dies, deals derivative damage on the nearby enemies, which makes her good for bosses as well. Then you have the battle skill, releases 3 spirits to attack random enemies on the field, dealing necrotic damage and generating a spirit at their location for 10 seconds, which will continue to attack enemies within range. So many times I kill the entire enemy team in arena, and these little skeletons are still dealing damage on my team, you know. I'm like, chill, bro, you're all dead. Why are you still here haunting me, you know? And then the ultimate skill unleashes a torrent of souls, dealing necrotic damage to all enemies. Additionally, all allies and dead summon units immediately trigger Tireless Devotion without sacrificing themselves, dealing AoE damage. Now, the more units you have summoned, guys, the more damage you're gonna get from the Tireless Devotion, and that will be derivative damage. Of course, this not only works great against bosses, but works great for arena too. And that will do our Necrosis element, guys. I feel like this video is going to be way longer than I initially expected it to be. We have the Radiance element. My god, so many OP heroes in here, and I gotta be very honest with you guys. This was such a hard list to make, okay? It was a really, really hard list to make, and some of you might disagree with me on here. Some of you might not. Let me know in the comments down below what's your opinion on what I'm about to tell you here. So, I haven't really played Talendor as much, you know, which is the exclusive from this Elemental Affinity. But when I actually played him, I haven't really got the feeling that he's a must-have in this Elemental Affinity, you know. And I do think, for example, that Filto, which will be one of the top 5 on my list, is much better and more unique. Now, the reason for it is because he's one of the only champions in the game that can blow stuff up like crazy. One shot, okay? He can one-shot bosses. That's what Filto can do, and just because of that, the uniqueness and the power of his kit, you know, the ultimate, is just nuts. And not just for that, but if you are struggling in the Fame Mender, he will be able to one-shot those waves, guys, on the Pillar of Trials. He's just insane, you know. He's insane with the right build. Give him the a lot of crit damage. Give him the right artifact, and he will go crazy. So let's start with the passive. Basic attacks will cause an arcane explosion upon hitting an enemy, dealing attack derivative damage to enemies within range. The hero will not gain any attack speed bonus instead. Each 1% extra attack speed gain will be converted to 10 attack, which is definitely in handy. Look at his base attack, 1730. Pretty nuts. Then you have the battle skill. Fires 3 cannon shots at enemies. Each shot deals 100% attack radiant damage to targets within range. If more than 2 targets are hit, gains rally for 10 seconds. So, guys, for arena is very easy to counter him. I'll be honest. It's a walk in the park to counter him. Just dodge his ultimate, you know? Place heroes in a distance of 2 tiles from his middle, basically, and you're gonna dodge him. Deals 600 attack radiant damage to enemies within range. If the hero is under rally when casting skills, consumes rally, and deals double the damage, extra 2 times. And the hero recharges ultimate energy. Like, he's basically dealing 1800% attack damage. Crazy, okay? So much damage. Like, Huberg is amazing, you know, he's great. I love my Huberg. But Filto is kind of like a different level. He's like a different level. Then, moving over to the next hero from here, guys, is going to be Gillian. Man, I love my Gillian. She's just such an amazing support. And especially in Season 2, she just brings in so much firepower. I can use her as a cleanser. I can use her as a buffer. I can use her as a healer. This passive When healing an ally with less than 50% HP, the cleric grants them a stack of heal recovery. Then you have the battle skill, heals the ally with the lowest current HP, and grants the ally damage reduction. Very similar with the skill that I told you from Viniara, you know, she can do the exact same thing for your tank or for whatever other champion you might have in play on a 5 seconds, you know, instantly giving them that damage reduction, which is very helpful. Then you have the ultimate, heals all allies by 15%, targets max HP, and dispels one debuff from them and grants defense up. That's all that I have to say for this skill. It's just such a good skill, guys. Moving over to the next one, guys, we have Asilia. Now, Ardrat is a new legendary. She's awesome, but I don't think she makes my top 5. Asilia, on the other hand, is one of the very few cleansers that cleanse all the debuffs in the game, together with Gulende, and I can't really think about a different one, though. We have Resistance Aura for Arena, 65. The passive for each debuff dispelled or resisted gains a stack of Oathkeeper's Glory up to 10 stacks, which will increase her healing up to 30%. The battle skill heals all allies within range, which is pretty nice, all the allies around her. And you have this ultimate that covers the entire area, dispels all debuffs from all allies, granting them immunity and healing all of them, okay? So, cleanse everything, immunity, and massive healing. She's such a powerhouse tank for Arena, for Vortex, for world bosses. Whatever you need her, she's just not gonna let you down, man. She's just very, very strong. For the Grave of Wrath, she's insane, you know? And moving over to the next hero that we have on the list, guys, from here, the best reviver in the game, Mithrasi. Man, she is another insane champion. HP aura for all battles, 30%. You have this passive. When an ally takes fatal damage, grants immortality for 5 seconds and a recovery over time for 5 seconds. If the ally is range hero, additionally grants them invisibility for 5 seconds, because why not? And this can only activate every 32 seconds, which is good, because you know she was going to be way too OP. The battle skill heals allies within range and grants them a stack of recovery over time for 5 seconds. She doesn't cover really the entire area, but she's doing a pretty good job at covering more than half of it. Then you have the ultimate, grants resurrection and death to all surviving allies for 10 seconds. And at the same time resurrects all dead allies at 75% of their max HP, retaining 75% of their ultimate energy, then grants debuff immunity to all allies and invisibility to range heroes. Like, my god, can we add 5 more things to her kit? Because she just doesn't do enough, you know? So powerful for every piece of content, except Goblin, of course. But other than that, she's just top notch. And the next one, guys, this might be a bit debatable as well, but I will put Faesa on my top 5 over Talendor, okay? That's why I mentioned Talendor at the beginning, and it's just because she just brings so much utility. Such a powerful champion. For Arena, you guys know it. If you fought teams with Faesa, for Feymander, for the Pillar of Trials, just too damn good, and even for world bosses, okay? Accuracy aura for all battles. This passive increases the success rate for all allies to grant any buff or inflict any debuffs by 20%. So this is the most free-to-play friendly champion for everyone, because if you're using her in a team with champions that don't have scrolls, she is going to increase the chance for them to do the debuff by 20%, okay, which will almost take you to 100% from 75, 95%. Then decreases the success rate of all enemies to grant any buffs or inflict any debuffs by 20. And this cannot be removed even when he dies, okay? Even when she dies, sorry. And for the PvE content, you guys have no idea how powerful she is for the Feymander and for the Pillar of Trials. Then you have the battle skill. On a 5 seconds recharge time, initial recharge time, then 10 seconds, grants damage reduction and damage delay to all allies, which means that you're not going to get sniped, okay? Because the damage reduction stores 40% of the damage taken to gradually take it over 5 seconds, and the damage reduction is take 30% less damage. On a battle skill for your entire team is massive. Then the ultimate deals attack radiant damage to all enemies and has a chance of inflicting blind and recharge speed penalty on them for 10 seconds. Then grants debuff immunity to all allies for 10 seconds, guys. Immunity, very good damage. You're getting recharge speed penalty and blind on enemies too. This makes her great against bosses too, because not only that battle skill will help you to stay alive, but the recharge speed penalty will be a pain for the boss, you know. So that makes the top 5 for Radiance, guys. Moving over to the lightning element. Here as well, we have quite a few awesome legendaries. And I'm gonna start with Ness here, guys. She's one of the exclusives from the lightning element. She's one of the craziest vortex damage dealers in the game, guys, with the right team. Not only that, but she's super powerful for arena and for other content too. Attack aura in all battles. For every 3 seconds the hero survives, gains a stack of black stork's feather permanently that cannot be dispelled, which gains attack speed, which is very nice, you know. Then every 10% of the hero's extra attack speed will be converted into crit rate. The battle skill flashes to the enemy with the lowest current HP and deals attack damage 3 times. The skill is counted as a basic attack and is guaranteed to be cast ASAP as soon as the battle starts. Initial recharge time 0 seconds. 0. That's how crazy she is. Then you have the ultimate skill, which again, because she is a melee hero, she will do a range around her. Deals attack damage to enemies within range. When allies launch basic attacks at any enemy within the next 10 seconds, the hero has a chance to shoot feathers at the enemy as a follow-up attack, dealing extra damage. Dauntless heroes will have a double chance to trigger the effect, and this will count as a basic skill, which will make her crazy with Ivelios. I'm getting my ass whooped by the RNG, okay? So when you go in arena, you have Ivelios and Ness together. Think twice before you're attacking them, okay? Because if you don't have a champion with the lowest HP that can take some hits, you're gonna be in trouble. Because what's gonna happen? She's gonna jump on with the A2 instantly. Ivelios will trigger his passive. When an ally launches a basic attack, the hero has a chance to launch a following attack, as why not, dealing derivative damage. The Dauntless heroes have double the chance to trigger this effect. It feels like it's 100%, honestly. Ness jumps, she doesn't kill my hero, but then he does, you know, all the time. Then the battle skill deals attack damage to enemies within range and grants them attack speed up to all Dauntless heroes. That's what they need to function even better. And the ultimate fires a mighty arrow, dealing attack damage to the enemy. The damage ignores 100% of the target's defense. And he's one of the best champions in the game that deals derivative damage. In a Dauntless team with the right champions around him, he can do insane things, okay? Literally insane things. Talking about the next one, guys, I will put actually Perkunte on the list, guys, as top 5 because I have him, I've played him, and I know a lot of people don't really like him because it's pretty hard to set him up. But you know what? I actually played him out and I tried to put him in the best scenario where I have a good activator for him with a lot of skill haste. I managed to get like 15 stacks consistently on him, and that's something that I can do on my account too. And he hits on the world boss currently for like 1 million per ultimate. So I do think that that deserves it. Plus in arena, again, it's harder to set him up, but he's unstoppable once he starts going. And the animation, and he looks freaking cool, but he's definitely worthy of top 5. He's an exclusive as well. He has an attack aura for arena, 45% attack. The passive, when on the field, the hero gains a stack of Overwhelm with unlimited duration whenever electrocuted is triggered. This effect cannot be dispelled and is kept at 30 stacks. Now, I have no idea how you're going to reach 30 stacks. I do feel like this needs to be a bit adjusted so it's easier to set him up because it's just so hard to set him up in most of the scenarios, you know. But how I mentioned, even in dungeons, on bosses, I used him initially on the test server when I tested him the first time against the Grave of Venom and the dungeons. He was doing pretty serious damage. At the same time, the hero casts a lightning, dealing damage to the enemy with the lowest HP. The fewer enemies on the field, the higher the damage, up to 500% of the base damage. The battle skill, again, is an AoE. Deals attack damage to enemies within range with a chance of inflicting electrocuted, and triggers Thunderbolt for the enemies instantly. This is another damage architecture as well, the Thunderbolt, guys, so it's different from the Dauntless. I reckon we're gonna have 2 different damage architectures for all of the elemental affinities. Then you have the ultimate skill, covers the entire area, strikes all enemies twice, each triggering Thunderbolt and dealing 275% damage. For every stack of Overwhelm on the hero, increases the damage of this skill by 3%. All stacks on the hero will be cleared after this. So if you get 10 stacks, you increase the damage by 30%. So you're striking the enemy twice, you know. So he can pump in some serious damage if you set him up with a Nissa, for example. I feel like with Shy is a bit harder because he's a melee hero, and for arena he might die faster. For bosses, again, he might die faster. Not saying it's impossible to make him work. If you have both of them in the team, Nissa and Shy together with Perkunta, it's gonna be even crazier, you know, but it's pretty hard to drop the support and stuff, you know. Then, moving over to the next legendary, guys, it will be Tamar. The Siphi of Dragonheir. She is very, very solid. She can deal good damage. She has an accuracy aura for arena. The passive casts a lightning strike on the enemy whenever they gain a buff, dealing attack damage with a chance of dispelling a buff from them. The skill only takes effect every 5 seconds. Then you have the battle skill, AoE, attack penalty, and a chance to dispel a buff from them. Decent damage too. She can be used for the goblin if you need it. If you need another damage dealer in there. Then the ultimate covers the whole area, unleashes a powerful lightning storm, dealing 700% attack, putting buff prohibition on the enemies, and for enemies without any buffs, okay, if you're fast enough, with a lot of skill haste on her, and preferably the Rift Hourglass, you're gonna stun them for 5 seconds, and that will give you the edge that you need to win the fight, guys. She was the GOAT in Season 1, and in Season 2, she's still kind of like one of the GOATs. Faesa, again, is kind of like stepping up with a similar ultimate in a way or another, a bit different, but very, very powerful as well, you know. Then we have Zephy, guys, the last legendary from this elemental affinity. Zephy can make you unkillable. Not just that, you have a defense aura for dungeon battles, 45%. The passive, he will give a shield to the ally with the lowest current HP whenever an enemy buff is dispelled, transferred, or when it expires. Then you have the battle skill, places a totem on the battlefield for 3 seconds, dealing attack and enlightenment damage to enemies within range, and a chance of dispelling a buff from them. Then you have the ultimate, creates a magic nexus for 8 seconds, granting defense up to all allies. Over the duration of the nexus, all the allies that are under 30% HP will gain invincibility for the duration of the nexus. So you're basically invincible for 8 seconds. He's part of unkillable teams, and I use Zephy to keep alive my squishy champions or melee champions for world bosses. You know, very powerful for arena as well. And finally, we have the last elemental affinity, guys. And here I have a bit of a dilemma, I would say, and I will need your help as well, guys, with one of these champions that should make the top 5. But I'm gonna start with one of the top 5 champions, which is Ogok, because we were talking about unkillable. Let's bring the other one in here. You know, there are only 2 champions in the game that can do that. Ogok and Zephy together, phew, you do magic, okay? You're unkillable in every single fight, as long as you time the skills right. You have a resistance aura in all battles. You have this passive, when healing an ally, dispels a debuff from them, cleansing and healing at the same time. Then you have the battle skill, unleashes a shadow wave that bounces between targets for up to 6 times, healing allies hit by the bouncy thing, you know, and of course dealing damage to enemies with a chance to put attack penalty. Already this hero does so many things. Then the ultimate summons a totem and grants immortality to all allies for 5 seconds and heals them by that much attack and enlightenment. Pretty damn nice. So you can stay unkillable with Zephy and Ogok. For Vortex, probably you've seen some of the crazy teams. I have some of my clanmates dealing like 500 million damage on Vortex difficulty 4. Just crazy. The next one, I'm gonna give it to my bae, Reyta. She was such a game changer for my account when I summoned her in Season 1, guys. She's just so freaking powerful. You have a max HP aura for City of Trials. The passive, for each debuff on the enemy, their damage dealt is reduced by 6%. This effect stacks up to 5. So basically you can reduce the damage on the enemy by 30%. Then you have the battle skill. Deals attack damage to enemies within range with a chance to put attack penalty and accuracy penalty on the enemy. Then you have the ultimate. Dispels all debuffs from all allies. I think we have only 3 cleansers in the game that dispel all debuffs. Is Reyta, we have Gillian, and I actually even forgot who the other one is. Gulende, sorry. And grants them defense up. Now, she does the most unique thing in the game, okay? extends the duration of all debuffs on all enemies by 5 seconds. I don't think people can understand how powerful that is, okay? Just to extend the duration of defense down and attack down on the Vortex, as an example, for 5 seconds, so having it for 15 seconds in total instead of 10, is absolutely game-changing, guys. Reyta's such an amazing champion. I'm so glad that I actually got her, you know? Then we have Malak, who's an amazing, amazing tank. Defense aura for Arena. When inflicted with control or ultimate down, gains 15% ultimate energy and heals the hero by 10% max HP. This effect can only occur once every 2 seconds. Also, if the hero fails to resist control or ultimate down, there is an extra 40% chance to nullify those effects, guys. Then the battle skill deals attack damage to the enemy and heals the hero by this much of his max HP. The healing is doubled if the enemy is inflicted with a debuff. This makes him so good against bosses and against targets that have debuffs because you're gonna get a 25% heal every 10 seconds, guys. Every 10 seconds. And then you have the ultimate. Dispels all control from allies, so removes all the stuns, taunting, or everything else that's related to crowd control, and gives them control immunity for 10 seconds, so that's kind of like block debuffs, but against crowd control. Meanwhile, deals damage to the enemies and puts attack penalty. What else you want from a tank? Like, he just does them all. And he looks so badass. Look at that. Look at that, guys. Then, Urgander, he's another awesome tank, and he's one of them that kind of like eludes me for a while. Defense aura for Arena. You have this passive, then when he gets attacked, he has a chance to put attack penalty on the attacker. The battle skill deals damage to enemies within range with a chance of reducing their ultimate energy, and he gains healing. Then the ultimate taunts the enemies and puts immortality on himself. Very, very nice. Such an awesome tank. And yeah, I feel like while he is very, very good, Garius and Frurbart are overall being used way more than him. You know, I just feel like the utility that you're getting from them is just so hard to beat, you know. But still, nevertheless, he's one of the best tanks in the game as well. And for the last hero, guys, we have the top 5, okay? I'm honestly not sure. I'll be honest. I've used Poisoners. I haven't used them like crazy. You have Lothair, Jatalia, Vikana, and Durango. Which one of them you guys think that is the best out of these 4? Now, honestly, I am in between Durango and Lothair, okay? Poisoners can deal a lot of damage. Vikana, she needs so much, and I feel like I'm not a big fan. I have her. Jatalea, she's awesome too, but she really needs to have a lot of poisons in order to shine. Lothair, he's the exclusive in here. He can deal pretty good damage. He has a very unique passive as well. But I feel like Durango, he just does the job better than anyone else when we're talking about poisons, you know? You have Accuracy Aura. You have this passive that instantly puts poisons on the enemies when the battle starts, you know? Then whenever he triggers a critical hit, he has another chance to put stacks of poisons, which really activates Jatalia or Vikana, for example, you know? Then you have the battle skill, launches 3 attacks with a chance to gain ultimate energy on critical hits. Then the ultimate skill launches 3 attacks again with a chance to put 2 stacks of poisons and a chance to ignore the defense too if the attack is critical. He is hard to build, but you're not going to build him to deal damage from poisons. You're going to build him to activate the rest of the poisoners. Honestly, I find it pretty hard to decide in between these 4 champions. And I am curious to hear your thoughts as well, guys. How I mentioned, I haven't played that much the poisoners to be able to decide in between these 4 champions. But hopefully you found this video helpful. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Appreciate every single one of you guys watching. Much love, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.